We have updated to the latest version as of October 2019, and this is the home screen as you see it. The home screen hasn't really changed much over the past couple generations of devices, especially the Alita, because that is what this is basically mimicking. This is a micro Alita. You see, it's the size of your hand. Now, that's not a bad thing that the home screen didn't change, because it shows consistency and it really allows you to remember where things are and everything. You still have these little widgets that you can't really move, but you can change them. You can change the quotations, and you can click on the reading statistics anytime you want, and it goes to the reading statistics. This doesn't show anything because we didn't read yet because we just opened it. You have your apps here. These change live depending on what you click on. So if you go to your apps and you click on something else, it will go back and show the latest thing there. It's kind of updated as you most recently use them. These are your apps. We'll go over these one by one when we get into it. These are your notes. Your books are located here. It does come with some preloaded content, and then the home button toggles back to the home anytime you want. You do have the drop down from the top that does notifications, or if you drop down and tap, we have to actually hit switch. And this gives you light, the Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, battery, the volume, the contrast that goes throughout the entire device, not just the actual reading. And you do have this toggle right here, which turns it into A2 mode. Now, unlike Onyx Max Books 3, which included the speed mode and the X mode, they are still limited to A2 mode on this for performance purposes. They only have the one level. The Wacom pen they give you with the device is the standard Wacom pen that you find in basically every device. You have the eraser on the back, you have the eraser button on the side, which may or may not work depending on the unit you're using, and you have the lapel clip right there. It's very brittle, the lapel clip. I would be careful with it, and the whole thing is made of plastic all the way down to the nib, so there's not much high-end premium feel to it, but it does work all right. The reading experience is fairly normal. It's the same thing but in a smaller form factor over the Alita. It does change pages very, very quickly, and it does have very nice image resolution and quality. You do have a slider bar here if you tap the center, and you have some ways to change your font size. Everything changes live as well. It's very snappy too. It doesn't really have to render or anything. And your typeset, so you can basically choose your margins like so, and you have contrast, which you can change both the picture contrast of any picture elements or the words itself. So what it actually does is isolates text and images separately. And that's really nice, because if you want to see an image high contrast and the text low contrast, or vice versa. Now, they do go a step beyond the standard 5-choice customization with these 3 little dots. You can click on those, and the customization is fairly extensive here over a lot of other devices too. You have row spacing, you have interval, you have word spacing, which can get a little carried away because you're gapping every single space. Left and right distance, upper and lower distance. You can make this thing your own if you want to read little thin column article, newspaper article style, or if you want the margins fatter or thinner. It's up to you, and it's very nice that way. Page turning settings, you have a lot of different ways, whether you want to type the bottom right corner, the top left corner, or half, or weird little thirds. You do have page refresh as well, never 1 through 40 in a couple different intervals, and some control functions down at the bottom. Now let's look at some other stuff like long press. When you long press, it does trigger the dictionary, and you can click on the dictionary to do the system dictionary. You can download other dictionaries as well. We're going to look at translation. Now you can click the little top right corner here, and the amount of languages you have is crazy. There's about 15 per row. There's 15, 30, 60, 90. There's close to 100 different languages. Oh, there you go right there. I didn't even read that. 104, bottom left corner. 104 languages you can choose from. That is more than the second best, which was basically the Amazon Kindle line of devices that did translation on the fly, except this one has 5 times more languages, and it's quite amazing because you click on anything and it just does it. You also have underline, which just looks like an underline, and you have annotation, which we're going to look at because this is the keyboard. So you can see it is not the quickest, and it plays a little bit of catch up. It's not as exact and crisp as some devices is here, but it's not the worst, so it does get the job done. Other than that, bookmarks are in the top right corner, and you do have some other settings right here, research all or double page read. When you click on that, you basically split it into 2 pages, and that's why I didn't hunker it down, because we're showing this. But honestly, if you had the Alita, this makes sense, but on the smaller form factor, you can see my hands covering it like this. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense because not a whole bunch of text is able to display on the screen because of the screen real estate limitations. You wouldn't buy this device for anything else. You're not buying it for books, you're not buying it for PDFs, you are buying it for the note-taking experience. This is the whole reason. It's called the Ares Note. It's a smaller version of the Alita, which is a note-taking device, etc. Let's begin. So we have 2 different colors, black or white, and we have the pen that has pressure sensitivity. You can see you can do really tiny lines or thick lines, and you can change the line settings with the line width like so. And it does have an overall very nice feel. It is more grainy on the screen than the Alita, which is actually a good thing because you don't want a glass feel to it like you're writing on a mirror or you're writing on a cell phone. You don't want that feel. You want it to feel like you're writing on paper. That's the point. And you have the, I guess, the pen, not the ink pen, but just the regular pen that doesn't have any pressure sensitivity. And this is for if you want consistent lines no matter how hard you press. We're going to press the erase all function now. Now we're going to draw our little box and show you some erasing capabilities. You can flip the pen over and use the on-spot eraser like that. Now Boyue has always had a little bit of a problem with the secondary button. If I press and hold the secondary button and draw, it actually doesn't erase. It just keeps drawing. The secondary button doesn't do anything on the Boyue, which is weird why they give you this instead of manufacturing their own stylus, because I believe that the secondary button should be used for something other than it just not being used, but it's still overall very nice. You have track erase, which is a track, or you have range erase, where you can circulate a range and it erases exactly that. All erase wipes everything away. I'm going to draw our award-winning box one more time. It's a nice box. We're going to click on this, and this we can now isolate a range and move this around, and it all moves around really quick. You can reduce it, you can stamp it, copy successful, please paste more, and you can actually rotate it as well. Now the thing you can't do is change the aspect ratio, so there's no anchor here, 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 or here, meaning that you can't actually stretch it. So you can only keep it within what it looks like now. You can't make it longer or taller or anything like that. And this is a very nice one as well, this section, because you have a bunch of backgrounds. You even have stickers that gives you colorful, very nice animals that you can then color in using black or white, respectively, if white is a choice at the point in time. You have Pinion, Column, Cornell Notes, Weekly Plan, etc. You can change all these on the fly, unlike the Sony. Now, the bar has been reduced and a lot of things have been stashed in the little 3 dots here, and we're going to show you right now AI mode. And AI mode is very nice. So we can just choose a pen, and I'll just write Japan on the screen, go down to AI recognition, and there you go. It wrote Japan in about 1 second. And it works in English, of course, too. I just wrote it in Japanese just for giggles. From here, you can actually copy and paste everything that you've written on the screen and go ahead and do whatever you want. Export it, save it, copy it into an email, whatever you choose to do with the text that you have made. You can delete this page, copy this page, note band mode, which band mode isn't really that necessary because even when you're resting your palm on the screen, it's fine. You can even have all your fingertips on the screen moving around, and it's totally fine. So the palm rejection technology by default is already very good, that it doesn't really require you to choose band mode if you don't want to. Now, if you're wondering why I'm scribbling, which a lot of people always say, it's because I don't want to include a 1-minute video of me writing from here to here in this video, you can watch our YouTube channel if you want to see a writing exhibition on what this looks like to just take simple written notes. The Ares is also fully loaded with Google Play. You can see some Japanese apps because we're conducting this from our Japanese office right now. Please excuse that. However, oh, that looks fun. We do have the ability to run Google Play on this. It doesn't require any sort of workarounds or anything. It's completely fine and working with no hiccups. A2 mode allows things to flow a little bit more smoothly at the expense of the image quality, and you can see after it moves, it doesn't have to go through a full fresh refresh render. But if you do turn off A2 and you're on full quality mode, you can see as it moves, it'll stop, it'll move, it'll blur, it'll stop, because the quality is very high and it's trying to keep up with that. But apps and everything work totally fine. You click on something, you click install, and it installs directly to your device. The lights on Boyue products have always been spot on. They're really high quality and they both have the blue/white lights and the warm lighting. However, they do have one problem when it comes to this, and we have told them many a time that they should kind of address it. They do have a slider, and that's cool, but when you toggle between this, it actually turns the light off for a second and then goes back into the next set of lighting. But it doesn't do that from warm to blue, it just does it from blue to warm. You can see right there. And another thing, very important, is that you cannot mix them. You cannot mix and blend the white lights and the orange lights together. So you have pretty much no white balance capability. There are some apps that some users have pointed out to us that you can download, install, trigger the light from there, and then you'll be able to turn on both at the same time rather than triggering it or toggling it on and off like that. Otherwise, the distribution is good and the light is good and both colors work very well. It's just we would wish that they worked together. I think the Ares is a very good move. It's always good to have a flagship device like the Alita and then gauge its popularity and then downsize to not only bring all that the Alita brought to the table, but in a smaller, cheaper form factor. And that's always nice because now not only do you give people an option in screen size, you give people an option in price. And that's allowing people that couldn't have bought the Alita to be able to buy kind of what the Alita wanted to be, except in a much more compact shell. So the Ares, I believe, is a good buy. It just has a couple shortcomings when it comes to audio and video, but that's not the biggest thing because you're not buying e-readers to do that right out of the gates, although it's just kind of a bonus if they do. For GoodyReader.com review of the Likebook Ares by Boyue, this is Peter.